Oh, hey, it's Heidi Rain. Wow, it's been a busy, crazy day. Full of helping people and writing books and all the jazz. But I really had to interrupt my regularly scheduled programming because I felt led and called to make a video for you today on how to tell if somebody is really having a problem or an addiction issue with any kind of substance at all. So I'm going to talk with you about how to tell if someone's really struggling or if they're just being a being a kid, or they're just letting loose, or they just drink a little too much. I mean, when does it cross the line? And you, as a family member, is who this video is for. Although people that are also struggling are welcome to watch this to ask themselves, do I have a problem? That's really cool if you're here for that. But mostly it's for the families, because the families are the key holders. And I know that you've been told many, many, many times by a lot of probably programs or advice or Al Anon or whatever resources you've been using, that there's nothing you can do, that you should just kind of back off. You should detach with love. You should just do what you're going to do. You stay in your lane. You let them be in your lane. But the reality is this: the family is the key. The family is the key. You hold the key to the portal of change for your loved ones. Now, a lot of us don't want to hear that because we then think, oh my God, I'm super responsible now. And Heidi, what are you trying to tell me? I'm responsible for somebody's addiction. I'm responsible for getting somebody better. This feels like the wrong thing for me. I'm not saying that you're responsible for their addiction and their recovery. They're responsible for that. Let's just be clear. Your loved ones are responsible for their own addiction and their own recovery. But the key role the family plays is deciding today that you're no longer going to turn a blind eye, and you're no longer going to leave it all up to them to figure it out because they're fucking out to lunch, right? That you are not going to be afraid to confront the reality of what's going on in your family, that you are going to call it out. And that is the key that you hold. The key that you hold to helping your problem person that you're dealing with is waking up. That's the key. It's no longer willing to sugarcoat, pretend it's not happening, like make it better than it is, pretend it's not as bad as it is. It's full recognition. And so I'm going to talk to you today for, if this is about waking up, what is a problem? When does it cross the line? I've decided a long time ago, not a long time ago, actually more recently, I've formally decided that I'm going to stop. I changed the name of my channel. Maybe you've noticed this. It used to be Addiction and Relationships with Heidi Rain. Now it is Toxic Relationship Recovery with Heidi Rain. Because what I want you to understand is that addiction is a toxic relationship. Okay. So I want you to think about addiction as an abusive, toxic relationship. So this is going to help you get out of the markers of how much is somebody drinking, how often are they using drugs, because those markers don't tell the full story. In fact, a lot of people who have issues, issues, are periodic or episodic users. They can go weeks in between using, they can go months in between, and then they'll say, like, tell you, see, I'm fine because I don't do it every day. That's an alcoholic. That's an addict. I'm still functioning. I'm the CEO of our company, honey. Of course, I'm not an alcoholic. So we're going to stop putting dogs in those fights. In fact, let's stop dog fighting, period, because that's just fucked up. Okay. And let's agree that we're going to go in there with a brand new approach to this. And that's what I'm here to do. I'm Heidi Rain, by the way. If you're new here, I just want to take a minute and say, welcome home. I am so glad you found me. I know that if this video found you today, it is by divine design. You are brought here for a reason. And I'm just going to set the intention today that you hear something you need to hear, you feel something you need to feel, you recognize or awaken to something that needs to click off in your mind so that you can be the change in your family. And this dysfunction can end with you. And my goal is to help you restore your kingdom, your household, your business, your life. That's your kingdom. You're ruling your kingdom, but what's happened is like you've forgotten how to rule your kingdom. You're tolerating and putting up with things that are that are not what the family deserves, and when addiction comes in of any form, substance use disorder or any of those things happen, it really derails the whole family. It takes everybody out, right? The kids are impacted, you're impacted, business is impacted, everything is impacted. Or if it is your kids, your business is impacted, your friendships are impacted, your psychology is impacted, your mental state is impacted, your spiritual state is impacted. And my goal is to end that suffering of everybody who's impacted from addiction by helping create a brand new way to get through to people and give them a tool to recover. I spent about 10 years working actively alongside addicts and alcoholics. And I'll tell you, in a treatment center, I did that for many, many years before taking my own approach and creating my own approach to recovery. I tried the old methods for 10 years first. And I have to say, I learned a lot of things about what doesn't work in getting people to recognize they have a problem or to know that it's a problem. And really, that's the hardest thing, isn't it? The hardest thing is getting somebody to wake up that, like, this isn't okay. This isn't cool. This is impacting everybody. So that's why I created the toxic relationship recovery model to explain addiction and to approach it from a brand new way so that we can think about this a little bit differently and help it click in the people's minds or in your loved ones' minds, like, oh shit, I might be in a toxic relationship with Ativan. I might be in a toxic relationship with alcohol. I might be in a toxic relationship with pornography. I might be in a toxic relationship with the internet. I might be in a toxic relationship with social media. So we're going to get rid of the word addiction because there's still so much stigma attached to it. Instead of like fighting that every day of my life, I'm going to reframe it. That's what I decided to do. Pretty smart, huh? I thank God for that idea. That did not come to me on my own. Thank you. Okay, so let's dive in. So take your loved one and insert DOC, drug of choice. We have many, many, many drugs of choice, right? We have alcohol, drugs, substance, everything. I mean, internet, I just named a lot of them, right? How to know if you're in a toxic relationship is let's walk through the phases of a toxic relationship and see how this might have happened. When you first, let's talk about just relationships in general. Okay. When you first meet a person that's abusive or toxic, or can have the propensity to become abusive or toxic, they don't lead with that, do they? They don't walk up to you and go, "Hi, my name is Tom, I'm a narcissist. Okay. I'm going to ruin your life. I'm going to take everything you have, inside, all of your belief in yourself and your self esteem. And I'm going to take all the good thoughts you have about yourself and I'll make you question. I'm going to make you question yourself. Okay. I'm going to make you doubt, your own sanity. These are really fun things we're going to experience together on this journey, with me and you and my narcissism, or an addict or an alcoholic, here's what you're in for with me. Like nobody sets out down the path of this radical honesty about where we end up. Everybody starts out in the illusion of true love, right? Like eyes meet across the room. And so is the case with alcohol. Just use alcohol today because it really is like the easiest example and it's the most afflicting addiction on the planet. And it causes more deaths and harm than all of the other things, I think, combined. And it's the most socially acceptable version of addiction. So I'm going to use that example in most of my teachings. So we start off with alcohol, and the relationship starts off with a bang. Okay. For many of us, it starts off so beautifully. Many of us are attracted to alcohol because, or insert drug of choice. Just remember, I could be saying heroin. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I could be saying food. I could be saying sex. I could be saying all the things. So you need to know. Okay. If I say I have a problem with alcohol, that's what I'm going to use. So I get into this relationship. Sorry, sometimes I lose a little bit of track because it's not just me talking. It's like some of this stuff just gets channeled through, and then people go, "What'd you say?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Let's watch it back. What did I say? Oh yeah, that's pretty good." Because again, I don't do anything by myself. I do this all in conjunction with, God. Okay, so let's just back up. Let me get represented to what wants to come through for you today. And take a deep breath. Okay. When you first meet alcohol, your loved one first met alcohol that you're worried about. Alcohol, you probably heard this before, but maybe I'm going to break it down in a brand new way. It was the elixir of magic. It provided a magical solution to one or multiple problems that your loved one is having. Now, when I start to say this, people are going to reject this notion immediately and they're going to say, no, they had everything going for themselves. They threw it all away. They had a beautiful family, or they had the best education, or they had all the tools. I hear this most from people that have a legacy money. I work a lot with people that are very wealthy and they really believe they were set up with all the tools to succeed. And they're really committed to that idea. Like, no, 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 no. I gave them the good life. I mean, these are people with endless resources, right? So they can't imagine how I never went down that path. The dad built the empire and then passed it on to the son, and the son's like a raging drug addict and he can't wrap his brain around it. It's because a lot of times our loved ones are struggling with things we will never know. We will never know. So right now, you've got to just suspend the idea that you know your loved one. All right. Or that you know what's going on with them, or you know what their problem is. Suspend all of that. Each of us that come to become reliant on alcohol and get into a toxic relationship with a drug of choice start out with a beautiful romance. It is a love affair for everybody. And it's much like an abusive relationship where it's recruiting you. A man like that narcissistic person that's going to come in and not tell you the truth. What he does instead is he love bombs you. He tells you how amazing you are, how wonderful you are, how he puts you on a pedestal. And alcohol and drugs do the exact same thing. And that's how they woo you. They they solve one or more of your problems. And one of the problems it solves for many people is the area of intimacy. We might be really successful in our work or in our ability to perform, but when it comes to intimacy, that's where most of us find the portal to addiction. And that's why toxic relationship recovery is such an important way to frame this new way to recover. Okay. So when I first meet alcohol, my lie inside of my head is, even though I'm very successful or I know I have all these wonderful resources, but I'm socially awkward, or but I'm like really not. Here's the beliefs that we have. This is a narcissist and alcohol seek out the same person. Alcohol being the substance and narcissist being the person. So toxic relationships with people, places, or things, right? So the alcohol will tell a lie to the person, like, here's what I need to believe if I attract a narcissist or if I become addicted to a substance. I need to believe that there's something wrong with me to begin with. Now we all can fall prey to that. There's something wrong with me, but some of us have it a little more intense than others. And what's wrong with me is like, I'm unlovable. I'm not cool enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not rich enough. I'm not, I'm not, I don't know. I mean, I think cool, rich, smart, and attractive kind of like covers the gamut for everybody's like insecurities, right? So you take a little bit of alcohol and suddenly you forget all of those problems. You forget how insecure you are. You forget. You take a drug, and some drugs help us forget how insecure we are if we have that as an issue, if we have a low self esteem. So, drugs and alcohol and narcissists prey on people with low self esteem. That's how they enter in. So, if anybody succumbs to a drug problem or an alcohol problem or a substance problem, at the root is a self esteem issue. Now, you might light bulb going off right now and be like, oh, yeah, I already know that. That's right, Heidi. Okay, good. So keep remembering that every time you're dealing with this situation. And you always have to go back to the point of origin. So when you're trying to motivate somebody to change and self esteem got them into this place in the first place, you don't motivate them by telling them they're a piece of shit. That's what started this thing off to begin with. Do you see how Einstein said you can't solve a problem with the same level of understanding that created it? If a low self esteem creates addiction, a low self esteem is not going to fix addiction. So, any kind of a treatment that shames you, makes you feel like an asshole, breaks you down to build you up, like a therapeutic treatment model, that's why those models don't work, because all they do is make that desire to check out greater and they ingrain your piece of shitness more. There's a lot of programs in recovery that remind you of your piece of shitness on a regular basis. That's why it's so hard for people not to go drink or do drugs on a regular basis because they're still tethered to that idea and notion that they're a piece of shit. Remember all the damage you did. Remember how bad of a person you are. That's why that stuff doesn't work. I just want to take a break here and let you know that I know I'm like a fire hose. And it's not me, it's the information that comes through. And I have, guys, when I tell you I have journals and books of like stuff that comes through fire hoses. I mean, I could just pull out these resources. If you're listening to the podcast, I'm just pulling journals. I've probably got 50 journals just sitting here of just like ideas, thoughts. Behind me is the whole new recovery model that I'm doing. So what I'm trying to tell you is I know I'm coming at you like a fire hose. I know there's a lot of information here. If you want me to slow down, if you want to, one of my favorite teachers, Sabrina Lynn, calls it like putting a bubbler on your fire hose, which means like you're on your fire hydrant, you put like something of water fountain on top of it so we can just drink a little bit. If you want me to help you and break this down slower and step by step beside you, I can do that either privately or in a semi private group setting. Just go to HeidiRain.com and schedule a private consultation, and we can then decide what path is right for you. You know, everybody's path is a little bit different to this process of recovery of your family. I do interventions, I do, family crisis stuff. I mean, I do all kinds of stuff, so you can go figure it out. But for now, let's just continue on here. So in the recruitment phase, the alcohol really whispers love to the person that's starting out with this substance. They just whisper love. It's like, oh my God, look, they love bomb. Okay. Oh my God, look how smart you are when you have alcohol in you. Wow, look how many great ideas you have when you smoke. Wow, look at how amazing you are when you just take some mushrooms. Oh wow, look at how open you are when you I don't know, whatever substance, look how uninhibited you are. Look how easy it is for you when you just find pornography instead of having to like go out there and date people. Wow, look how satisfied you can get from this substance versus actually doing the work. So it's like a band-aid on a flesh wound. It's like putting a mask on top of the low self-esteem. It's like, wow, if I put the cocaine mask on, all of a sudden I feel invincible and I have all this unlimited power. Now you're born with all this unlimited power, but the low self-esteem from whatever lie we believe in ourselves makes us forget. And then when we take the drug, we remember. It's not inherently bad. Drugs, alcohol, none of these things, these are tools. None of these things are inherently bad. It's when it borders into an abusive relationship or the relationship becomes toxic that it becomes a problem. Many people will have a functioning, healthy relationship with drugs and alcohol. People can do this. I know when I say that, people are like, what the fuck? Nobody can do that. Don't ever have a drug in your life. Never take drugs. You can have a functioning relationship that's not abusive or toxic with substances. The key to it is that it's taking you closer to um, the light than to the dark. Okay. Now, a lot of people think, oh, when I have substances, I come to the light. I see all the things. I have a spiritual awakening. I do all the things. But the truth is that's great. But here's what I'll ask you: is your enlightenment keeping other people in the dark? Is your enlightenment sending people you love to the dark? Meaning, is it hurting people? Is your relationship with alcohol or your loved one's relationship with drugs, alcohol, or substances or whatever manifesting as issues in their relationships? It's creating a rift with the kids. The kids are starting to catch on. The kids are starting to notice. Well, then you have a toxic relationship. Okay. Because the kids one day will come home and out of the blue, out of the mouths of the babes, kids will say, Mommy, why do you stay with daddy? He hurts you. They start to notice. They're like, why do you? Mom, if I were you, I'd just cut my losses and break up. Hey, dad, she's drunk again. You're up. The kids start to tip you off oftentimes before the spouses or the siblings will tip off the parents long before the parents get it. The siblings will start to say, hey, um, you know, Roger's an addict. And mom will be like, oh, he just has social anxiety. So he likes to smoke. he smokes a little bit, because he needs like a lubricant for society. And then like this kid's like, well, okay, that's great, but he's doing that, and then he's not. It's all he's doing. Like he's just going out with his like he's just partying all the time. It's like social lubricant gone too far, where now there's no balance in his life, and his other relationships are struggling. And he can't talk to you unless he's under the influence of something. And I don't feel like I have access to him anymore because now he's not even there. In fact, he's up in his room now. So people around the addict or alcoholic, or around the substance use disordered person, or around the person in a toxic relationship with a substance or an activity, will see it before everybody else does. So here's how I want you to approach this today. I want you to look back at the relationship with, take your loved one, and I want you to examine, take a look and say, how did this relationship begin? I want you to do a relationship inventory. Okay. How did this begin? And maybe write a journal entry. The relationship with alcohol began. I began seeing this then, and it looked like this. And like you try to put the pieces together. Well, here's when I started to worry this relationship might be abusive with alcohol. Well, they had a DUI, and I thought, well, this alcohol's out to get them, or they missed a job opportunity, or they got fired, or they were hiding bottles, or they were lying about how much they were using, or they drove with the kids drunk, or I find I'm making excuses for them, or I find I'm justifying and rationalizing their bad behavior, or I think I'm hiding their bad behavior from other people. Okay. Ooh, I see. There is a problem here. And from now on, that's the only barometer you're going to use. You're not going to use how many bottles you see in the trash. You're not going to use how many times they visit that site. You're not going to use they saw this, they drank less today than they did yesterday. You're not going to use any of those measurements anymore because they're false metrics. They don't tell the true story. The true story of our dependency is told inside of our relationships. That's how we know if we've gone too far and if we have a problem. Now, this is just step one, the awakening, the waking up. Alcohol and drugs put somebody eventually, when they go all the way down the path, it gets really bad. And eventually everybody falls under the sleeping curse. That's what they do. That's what all drugs and alcohol do. Like you're an awakened, you wake up, you're born awakened, you have all the power, you have all the love, you have all the divinity within, you have all these wonderful things. And then alcohol and drugs just slowly start to, when we misuse them, it's like they start off as a good thing. They start solving the problem, but then eventually they start creating problems for us. And when you protect somebody you love from the natural consequences of their use, you delay that process. And that's another way you're the key as a family member. Stop making it okay. Stop fixing the mistakes. Stop smoothing it over. Stop putting a bow. Stop polishing a turd. Stop putting lipstick on a pig. Stop doing all the things that you're doing to make everything okay and let it fall apart. And I know that is so freaking scary that you're like, Heidi, if I let it fall apart, it's really going to fall apart. It needs to fall apart. How do you construct a new life? You deconstruct the old one. You have to be willing to let whatever's there come and rise to the surface and blow up, implode, explode, fall apart so that you can let that phoenix rise from the ashes. And the phoenix is your loved one. But sometimes they've got to burn down the illusion. They've got to burn down the illusion that everything's fine when it's not fine. So you as a family member, the key to that, it's like you're not going to co-sign the bullshit anymore. You're going to call it out. You're going to call a spade a spade. Eventually, what happens to everybody in this toxic relationship is that they can't get out. They eventually get so brainwashed. It's like when you're with a narcissist for a long time or you're with a cult, any toxic relationship. My black cat walked in as I said that. Oh my God. Anytime you're, in one of these, and I work a lot with people with religious trauma and things like this, and that's what got them here in this first place, and have so on and so on. What happens is eventually it really does take you over. The sleeping curse is I'm fine. The sleeping curse is a curse of denial. And then it's really hard to crack that code, right? That's where assistance comes in, support comes in. You really shouldn't do this alone. This isn't something that you should try to attempt to do without wise counsel. This isn't something that you should just like Google and learn. Yes, watch all the videos, but if you really want to do it right and you want to make sure that you are tuned in to what their motivators are to change, and you really want to take the time and invest the resources, yes, it does require financial investment, absolutely, an investment of time, resources, and energy. But if you're willing to do that, you're going to set yourself up and your whole family up for much more success than if you tried to piecemeal it together. Well, put the shovel down, or oh God, I forget her name right now. You guys know who I'm talking about. She's great. Amber Hollingsworth, right, has one approach, and you dip your toe in Amber's world, and then you dip your toe in my world, and then you dip your toe in Dr. Ramani's world, and you start like pulling all these pieces together. But what I'm recommending is you pick a path, right? So either you start to hire these people that you're watching, and if they're available for hire, and you get to work, right? And part of that is really being willing to go the extra mile and do the damn thing, right? So ending the torment, putting an end to it is really when you seek the help. Some of you have sought help elsewhere. You've done that. You've gone to Al-Anon and you felt like I didn't really fit in there, Heidi. I don't blame you. I think Al Anon is a great place for some people. I find Al Anon to be one of those things that keeps us stuck. What it does in my mind is and this is from decades of hearing feedback, is that I have to say, if you love it, I'm not really talking to you, but if you did find a discord there, you're not alone. A lot of other people will tell me that it's like, what I've realized from what they're telling me, what I put together is that, and they didn't say this, but this is what I've concluded, is that it just gives you enough energy to go back in for more. It just gives you an outlet to go complain and cry and be heard and cohort with friends in a similar situation. And then you feel juiced up enough to go back in for more battery, for more bullshit. Okay. I don't want that for you. Well, I'm not a therapist. I'm not going to help you feel better about what's happening. I'm a consultant. I'm going to help you change what's happening so that you can fix it. Okay, because that's what needs to happen. It's not how to endure it, it's how to solve it. And there is a solution. The solution is recovery, but it probably won't look exactly how you want it to look or think it should look, and that's why you need support. And my approach is, well, let's meet with the family and see what needs to be done. Let's do a personalized intervention plan. Let's do a personalized family restoration plan. Let's do a personalized approach. And that's what makes my work different, is that I'm not trying to work with the world, even though, it's great. This is the work with the world. And the YouTube channel is the work with the world, coming in for advice, but privately or in my small groups, this is where the mentorship is, the direct mentorship. So if you're interested in that, again, go over to HeidiRain.com, set up a consultation, and we can just start the process. Okay. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you. And as my 10-year-old would say, smash that like button. You know what I mean? I always forget. She's 10. She's like, smash that like button if you hear something you like today. But it really does help us, help more people. It helps our channel grow. We're really trying to do good work here. I think, my divine mission, God's work from my perspective, what I'm being obedient to do. And so I just, and I do trust God that it'll get to where it needs to get to today. But if you want to aid in the mission and you want to help us and you want to enable us in a positive way to move forward, share this message with somebody else who could use it, or take some action and let me come alongside of you. All right. I love you. That's it for today. That's been a mouthful, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye.